Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Sergeant Roy's Pathfinders. I'm glad that you guys can join me for another episode. I am like really so excited that you could make it, that everybody is doing well. We're going to go ahead and get started up here. Hope that everybody's doing really well. Everybody's pretty much staying dry because the weather has been really bad here. I don't know what to say, but a lot of stuff has been going on. But welcome to Pathfinders. Glad that you guys can make it. And today's Pathfinders, we're going to talk about. Well, let me back up a little bit. If it's your first time viewing in on Pathfinders, this is a podcast that we're talking about targeting young people. These are young people, yourself, 17, young adults, young folks that are getting ready to graduate high school, 1 or 2 years away from high school, maybe graduating college, young folks, and it's a podcast where I'm going to emphasize coaching and mentoring and giving you some training tips on how to go out there and really set goals, to go out there and really put your best foot forward and what you want to do to build a career. And last week we talked about pretty much the foundations of the podcast, talking about uh, the possibilities of going to college, the possibilities of going to a trade school, or even joining the military. Well, today's emphasis, we're going to talk about the military. Why not the military? And of course, you can see behind me, I have my accolades right there. I did tell you a little bit about myself. I did 36 years in the military, in the Army, and I enjoyed it. I did do some college as well, but I did the military. Just seemed to really work out well for me, and we're gonna go. I'm gonna go over some critical points of why the military might be a viable option for you should you choose to accept to go join the military. Well, I did 2 years at a 2 year institution back in 1978. I did 2 years at Dean College. It's called Dean College now in Massachusetts, and it's a 4 year institution now. But I did 2 years, and my major, believe it or not, was music. It was music, and I really enjoyed. I really did enjoy being a music major, being involved in theater and all that stuff, and but however, I became disillusioned after 2 years of school because number one, if you're taking, I hate to say this, but if you're, it's good as far as the performing arts. It's great to start when you're young. I did not do that. It's great to have formal training when you're young. I did not have that as well. But college is it's really not a good place for that to for should you want to pursue a career in dance or singing or music or anything like that because it's relatively cheap. You can pay for it, get training, but you don't have to go to a university and spend thousands of dollars. But how nonetheless, I did go to a college and I did my time there. But I was very, after my 2 years, I realized something. During the summer months, I went to New York City and I did auditioning and I did all kinds of things. I went there and did and auditioned for all kinds of shows. I even auditioned for the uh, what's it's Alvin Ailey Dance Theater. They're still in business. Very prestigious modern dance company in New York City. I did not get selected. However, I did audition in New York. And again, this is before you start. This is before Star Search or American Idol or The Voice. Okay, that's how old I am. But I would go and to New York and I would audition for these shows, and I became disillusioned because I realized number one that I was not prepared. I know that college did not prepare me for this career and basically show business. It just didn't prepare me. Now, yeah, I did take classes and I did study as far as the art form, but really. anyone would tell you if you go into this line of business that it didn't prepare me to face the hard knocks of being able to go through really tough audition process to be able to prepare. Anyone who would tell you that has ever worked in theater or any type of show, they will tell you that it's a really tough audition process. You really have to be prepared. I mean, if you really want to make a living as a professional career as a dancer or singer or an actor, you really have to be prepared. You can't go in there half stepping. And I've met so many people, and I've done it myself, where it's like a pipe dream. You just kind of hope that you roll the dice and that you somewhere by accident you get picked up. And that's not the way you really want to do things. And they don't do things like that now. But I went to New York after I graduated college. Went to New York a couple of times during the summers, and then after I graduated my school, I went to New York and I got a job, and I would go to New York and audition in my spare time. I worked and I went to study at nights, but still, that was not enough. It was not enough, and as years went on, it just became more clear to me that not that I couldn't make it, but I realized that in the area of entertainment, if you make it, you are very. If you make it at a young age, you are very fortunate. Very fortunate if you make it at a young age. And those people that are fortunate to make it, the Taylor Swifts and the what's the name? The guys from NSYNC, all these boy bands, and all this other kind of stuff. It's just very. Britney Spears, that's what I was thinking of. You're very fortunate to be able to make it at a young age. And even when I was doing a lot of the theater shows and stuff, a lot of these actors and actresses, and even the movies now, they're playing parts of people in their 30s, but a lot of them are older. Believe it or not, they're older, but they are playing those parts of young people. But it's very competitive, very competitive. And I'm not trying to discourage you. You still think that that's your calling to do that, then I say by all means go for it. But I if I had to put my 2 cents on it, it would be really prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. And how do you do that? You really need to, if you're going to make a life in show business, you probably want to study with at a studio where someone has had those experiences. They can tell you how to get prepared. Learn your craft. If you're a dancer, you have to be very skilled. Know my thing, for example, I was a great dancer, but I had a problem with counting for some reason. And if you're a dancer out there and you're watching this podcast, you know that dance is put together by a series of numbers, by counting. But I was very good. I was a visual learner. I could see a piece of choreography and just pick it up like that, no problem. But if you look at today's choreography, it's totally very complex. Then the counts are in the head and the shoulders, and you really have to be on point with today's choreography. But nonetheless, and then another thing I noticed too, that when I would go to auditions and I would maybe make the first cut, maybe the second cut, that these people that I was competing against were down there full time. A lot of them were down there full time, and I was down there at nights and weekends, just auditioning. But it wasn't enough. But that's where I had my epiphany. I kind of remember walking down after a rehearsal, walking down Broadway, and I remember the light bulb just came on. I just said, "Hey, I just don't really want to do this anymore." And not that I couldn't, but I didn't want to spend the time. And at that time, I was probably 22. I didn't want to sit there and just spend countless years and years of still waiting till my opportunity would come my way. Well, I remember I married my college sweetheart, and I remember coming home and bouncing off her the idea of joining the military. Because at that time I didn't have any skills. I didn't have any really marketable skills that I could offer to a company. So with that conversation with my wife, I decided to join the military, and that's how it all started. And at first, I remember signing up, and I thought I had thrown my life away. I just thought that I was like, oh my goodness, uh, all my creativity, all who I am, all opportunities are just going to go away. 'Cause I'm just going to be stuck in the boring military, not knowing that it was the best decision. Best decision. So this is, and 36 years later, as you can see, I ended up being retiring as a sergeant major, highest rank for enlisted personnel, and I got some benefits. I was able to buy my first home. I was able to get some education, go to school, go to college, tuition free almost. I just pay for my tuition. So there you have it. That's my experience and my personal experience. But you, as a young person, you're going out there, you're getting ready to start your life, and maybe, like we talked about on the last podcast, that maybe you're not an athlete. You may have been an athlete, you may have gone as far as you can go, or or music or the entertainment business is clearly not really your cup of tea. The military offers all kinds of opportunities, and I have to admit, it is all kinds of great opportunities out there for you. Now, I will tell you that it all starts with first a decision. And the decision is, I know a lot of young people, when I get the chance to talk about the military or share my experiences about the military, a lot of them will kind of pull back a little bit, because a lot of young people, you think you're going to be like in a war zone. It's going to be like Saving Private Ryan, and you're out there, and you're in a combat zone. No, no. First of all, people don't understand. When you understand the military does different things at different and different things, different people, different functionality for each military. I can speak for the Army. Like the Army has really is in two sections. You have what we have, the combat units, which you see on in the movies, like the infantry, the artillery, the cavalry, and then you have another area of the military, which is called combat support. These are people that are your mechanics, they're your professionals, they are your doctors, lawyers, mechanics, everything from dentistry, public relations, you name it, supply. That's the thing that I signed up for, supply. And these are the people that are the supportive side of the Army. And the military can offer so many opportunities for you to pick up skills without you spending a lot of money on college. And when I did work in the public sector, I worked as a computer technology person. I was a software test engineer, and I got all my training from the military. I got all my computer schools and everything in through the military. It didn't cost me a dime. But what I'm trying to kind of bring home for you is that maybe to consider a possibility the career in the military. And let's kind of break this down. I'm not talking like going like 20 years or 15 years or whatever, but you can go 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years will is enough time for you to uh, get some nice good benefits. A 2 to 3 year contract in the military is phenomenal. You walk away with a couple of things like a VA loan, to be able to get you your first house. Banks love people that have VA loans. So it's like almost a guarantee to the bank that they will get their money. They also have a college fund, the Army College Fund. I know that all the branches have it. That the Army had a college fund that if you, I think, if you put, based on how many years you were in, they would cover you while you were on service. You can go to college while you're in the military as well. They help you save money. They have a college fund. You can put money away if you don't want to go to school while you're serving. You can go after you serve. Then there is also a savings plan. I know the Army, I don't know what it is currently now, but in the military, the Army, it's like for every dollar I put in the Army will put in like $6 or $7, like a matching fund. And you could come out with a boatload of money on their savings plan. So they had all these kind of like little perks in the military. And it's just phenomenal. I just think it's a travesty to nowadays when I see young people that are going to college and they are coming out in debt, serious debt, a lot of debt, and that's no fun. I think now they're trying to get a handle on it now, but there used to be that you can walk into any bank as a 17, 16-year old, 15, I mean, as a 17, 18-year old, sign your name on it. You got a college loan, no background check or anything. And I got friends of mine, their children have sometimes two, three, four, five college loans that they start off in debt, really extreme high debt. So the military, that's the question. Why not the military? Why not? It's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to, even like one of my friends, his son played an instrument in high school. He was eligible for the Army band. I mean, oh my gosh, what a great gig. That's all they do is ceremonies and stuff like that. But but the first thing, if you consider the military, it's going to start with you taking what we call the ASVAB test. And that's a test that's good for all the branches, but it's actually called the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. It's ASVAB, ASVAB. Okay. And that's just it's not like the SATs, but it's just kind of a test that measures your ability to reason, to do math and stuff like that. That's where they get uh, the scores from that test to decide how you score on that test determines the type of job that you will get. Now, the ASVAB, you can take it if you Google it. It's AS. A is in Alpha, S is in Sam, V is in Victor, A is in Apple, B is in Bravo. There you go, the phonetic alphabet. ASVAB, and you can take practice tests out there. You can go see what it looks like, and take that test and see how what it's like. But how you score on that test will determine the type of job that you will get in the Army, and it's good for all branches. The Navy will, based on your scores, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines as well, Coast Guard, and the new one, Space Force. But I remember my son. I have an older son. He's in the military right now, the Army, and his story is pretty much the same as mine. He did a year or so in college, and it didn't really pan out for him. However, he too started looking at the opportunities that the military presented, and he took the ASVAB. And to our surprise, me and my wife's surprise, he scored very high on the ASVAB. And I'm very proud to say that he scored so high that he landed a good job with the. We tried for the Air Force, but the Army gave him a better deal. So when you take this test, you can. It's almost like you're a first round draft pick. You can shop your contract around to all the branches who will give you a better deal, which I recommend. But my son first went to the Air Force, and it was okay, but the Army gave him a better deal. My son scored very high on the ASVAB, and to so much high that he picked a job that gave him a bonus, and he had a $10,000 signing bonus at the time of enlisting. And that's another thing, that if you score real well on the ASVAB and the branches you score real well and the branches have need for a particular skill and you qualify for that, it could be involved a bonus, a signing bonus. That's really good too. That's something to think about as well. So my son signing his John Hancock got $10,000 right on the table. So it's something to think about. The military, like I said, you young people, uh, yeah, you can take a year off and go work a job, work at McDonald's or go work here or work at Lowe's or whatever. But why start off, with that? You and military, first of all, yes, you got to go to basic training. You know, in the military, yes, the Army, the Air Force, the recruiter's going to tell you that you're going to have to, go to basic training, and in some cases, the the based on your health, you have to, you can't be like severely overweight and all that. You don't have to be like a super in shape, but the recruiter will tell you all that. You have to be in some standard uh, uh, shape to join the military, and they will help you with that. There are a lot of prep courses that now the recruiters are doing to kind of get you ready for that. But you go, if you can give up 10 weeks, I think the Marines is 12 weeks. You give up 10 weeks to go to boot camp. You come out of boot camp, you have a load of money that you haven't spent while you're in basic training. And then I recommend there's three components of the military. Here's another thing about the American Fighting Force. The army or the military is a huge expense on any country. It really is, to pay all those military personnel to be on point. It's very, very taxing on a country. But I will tell you this: the way that the United States gets around it, we have what we call components. We have three components of the military. We have the active duty, we have the reserve, and we have the National Guard. And you think of it this way: that our army is like this big. But when in the times of emergency, we need a bigger army. We make our army this big by embellishing it with the National Guard and the reserves. And then when the conflict is over, we send those people back home and they go back to an active component. And it works really nice. And the thing is, I've had the opportunity to serve in all three components. I started out active duty, and then I did some National Guard time. I started out, and every state has a National Guard unit pretty much. And I started out in the Massachusetts State Guard, and then I went to South Carolina State Guard, and then I finished up with the North Carolina State Guard. And what I can say about the National Guard is that the National Guard is an interesting component because uh, members of the Guard component, you have two commander in chiefs. You have the president of our country, and then you have the governor, who has jurisdiction over National Guard soldiers. So it's a kind of a dual mission. And another added bonus is that a lot of people don't know, but the National Guard, they have, being a member of the National Guard, they have an education benefit as well as you can utilize the national, the regular Army educational benefits as well as the state educational benefits. So you can what we call double dip. You can double dip in that state, and it's pretty nice. Uh, but the thing is that I did the National Guard for a number of years, and promotion is slow. And their commitment is, you probably heard of the term weekend warrior. National Guardsmen, they serve 1 weekend a month, and then they do 2 summers, what we call summer camp in the summer. And that's their commitment until if they are, they can be called up to active duty by the president, or they can be called, and if there's a state crisis such as a flood or a hurricane, they can be called up by the governor. So that's their mission. The other component is the reserve, and the reserve is pretty cool. Their commitment is pretty much the same. They give up 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer. However, their missions they only have the president as their commander in chief, and they pretty much get called up to do a lot of national missions and stuff like that. So I've had the opportunity, like I said, to serve active, National Guard, and reserve. Now, I know that as far as like reserve and National Guard, I when I did those components, I noticed we had a lot of college students. It's kind of a great thing for kids that just they don't want to serve active, but they can do um, part time through the Guard and Reserve, and no problem there. And they've got so many different types of programs. And in the military, they have programs like Green to Gold. A lot of people are not aware of that. Green to Gold is a program where if you do real well, the military will pay for you to go to college full time. And then when you're done with your 4 years of education, when you're done, you you go into the military as a second lieutenant. And it's kind of like our academies, like West Point or Annapolis or something like that. And that's pretty cool too. I've met people that have done green to gold programs, and it just works for them. And we have all kinds of programs in the military. But my main point is that if you are a young person, you're ready to make a change right now. If you don't want to get in debt by going to college and just taking out all these loans, this might be the a great option for you. And it's not as scary as you think it is. It's not a lot of people that put down the military. Nine times out of ten, when I talk to them, they really don't know a lot the real things what's going on with the military. But my advice to you is, it's drop me an email at Pathfinders, Sergeant Roy's Pathfinders at gmail.com, or either Sergeant Roy at hotmail.com. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer your questions about what what it is to maybe look at a career in the military. I'd be more than glad to answer those questions. If you don't want to talk to me, talk to a relative. I'm sure you have an uncle, an aunt, someone that has served honorably in the military, and they will give you a lot of tips on how to pursue that. But I wanted to present that to you. That is a good path, an optional path for those who do not want to pursue going to college or just going to get a job. And it's nice because I know that my years in the military, I saw a lot of young people come into the military, and they were doing quite well. They were able to save up money and buy their first car. Uh, to some would that liked it a lot would just stay a couple of years. They would eventually get married and buy their first house. Also, to travel if you want to go the active component. Uh, uh, Being in the active component gives you the opportunity to go to places you've never been. I have a son that's right now that's serving in Vincenza, Italy. Before that, he was in Wiesbaden, Germany, and you get the chance to see the world. And I have to admit, though, in the military, I have I have no regrets. I have no regrets whatsoever. I've met so many wonderful people. I've been to so many different places. I had a chance to go to Egypt to see the pyramids, and I have no regrets. The military, I've met so many great people and done so many fantastic things. I should, and I almost feel like I should have done it sooner because I came in the military at 22, at the age 22. But I hope that this is kind of giving you a little bit of clearance, a little bit of guidance on what the options are for you out there. And the military is a good choice. It's not a step down. It's not like something you have to settle for, because you can build a fantastic career through the military. Got it? And if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'd be more than glad to answer your questions on the podcast. And if it's all good, I'll look for you next week. I'll be out here Sundays at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern here on YouTube. And please like this video. If you've got a cousin, a son, a daughter, a nephew, a niece that's looking for some guidance, please pass this podcast on to them and let them subscribe. We need subscribers because my goal is to get this channel up and running. And I wanted this to be a resource for you young people where we can come and talk about the issues and talk about some of the challenges that you have to face, and being able to go out in this big world and make a career for yourself, to go make a life for yourself. It is possible, but I'm designated myself as your personal success coach, me, Sergeant Roy, and I'll be here every Sunday on Sergeant Roy's Pathfinders. Take care.